You on radio podcast. I have two wonderful guests with me here. It's really a pleasure to have these guys in the studio. I have two interesting individuals here with me today. I have Tim and Nicole. They are representative of the Hive nonprofit organization. These people work with bees. Bees, Bees. Yes, they work with bees. They have different farms around the city of Detroit. They are recognized as the Michigan 40 under 40 by the Michigan Chronicle. They have been recognized by Meta. They are doing wonderful things in the city, a great humanitarian efforts. And today we are here to learn about bees. So I'm going to give them the floor. It's your host, Sean Don, the host with the most. And I'm happy to be here. And what's up, Tim? What's up, Nicole?
What's happening, Sean, man? We
How
happy
you
to
doing?
be here, man. First and foremost, thank you for reaching out. It feels good to reconnect and thanks for allowing us to be put on,
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about the Detroit Hives, man. Tell the people, what is the Detroit Hives and what's your mission and what do you stand for?
Absolutely. So our mission is clear. Detroit Hives operates a 501c3 nonprofit organization whereby we work to improve underserved communities for both people and pollinators. And we do this by transforming vacant lots into what's called an educational apiary, or also partnering habitats and botanical gardens. We founded our organization in 2016, and we now exist in over 28 locations, partnering with the Detroit Land Bank, the City of Detroit, universities, and even local schools like Mumford High School, Wayne State University,
Mustangs.
and the Ford Resource Engagement Center. Absolutely, Mustangs in the building. We got beehives at Mumford too.
Okay, dig that. Man, what inspired? Like what inspired this? Because bees. When we talk about bees, man, culturally and a lot of us done got stung by bees. We don't know anything about bees. We just know that when we see a bee, run, right?
Yeah, I think the same thing with us. Growing up as a kid, we were always afraid of bees, and many people don't know why, but a lot of times we're afraid of bees either subconsciously or consciously. We watch our parents swat at bees or run at bees. We watch cartoon illustrations or TV shows where cartoons are running from bees, or if you see an illustration of a bee, it'll have its stinger out. So we've been kind of raised to kind of be fearful around these type of insects. But, culturally, bees and pollinators and the environment, that's really who we are. That's where our ancestors and those that came before us, were a part of. Just recently, it had been maybe a few years ago, we found out there were other historically black indigenous beekeepers, like Benjamin Banneker, who's an autodidact. And the autodidact is a self-learner. He taught himself astronomy. He taught himself how to build a clock, and he designed the White House, but he was also a beekeeper in his latter years. Or like Dr. Charles Henry Turner, who was the first scientist, not just first scientist, the first black scientist to discover that bees can see shape and color. Or like Dr. George Washington Carver, who was also a beekeeper. He was also a pianist, but also a farmer. He was also a scientist and many things, but many people don't know that he was also a professor at Tuskegee Normal, which is now Tuskegee University today.
Okay.
And every single student at Tuskegee Normal had to learn beekeeping from him.
So it's like being a beekeeper. We know that you have to be involved with some type of gardening activity. You have to know flowers. You have to know what attract bees. Nicole, I want you to expand on just working in the field, working in the garden, and just attracting bees.
Wait, I gotta cut that out real quick. Not every beekeeper is very knowledgeable with plants, flowers, and any of that.
Okay.
Some are just called apiarists, and they're
Okay.
just focused on supporting the conservation of honeybees, and that is it.
Okay.
They don't do anything with flowers. They're not even planting anything. So
Okay.
not everyone is for the conservation. Some are just here to produce products up from the bees. But we're for the conservation. But I'll pass it to Nicole. I had to cut that off.
Thank you.
Yeah, but most people just pair their hives with other like farmers or gardeners or things like that. So they don't really indulge themselves in learning about flowers. But since we've been operating this nonprofit, yes, we have learned about what attract bees and certain flowers and things that we should plant. So yeah, honeybees have definitely been our gateway.
Honeybees.
Yes. honeybees
Wow.
have been our gateway bug. So we learned about a lot of flowers. So like sunflowers are great for bees, but they also good for cleaning out the toxins that are in the soil.
Especially here in the city of Detroit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So with a lot of vacant lots, the clovers, the toxins, the roly-polies, the sunflowers help remove a lot of those toxins from the soil.
Really?
That's one concern that most people have is, how is the soil here in the city of Detroit with the vacant lots? Mm-hmm. Well, if you allow those wildflowers that most people mislabel as weeds to flourish on your land, they help detoxify your soil from toxins like roly-polies, like clovers or dandelions, or in this case, also sunflowers.
I want you guys to expand. I've read that you guys have over 27 locations. Is that correct?
We're counting. I think we're 28 and counting.
We're 28 and counting with bee farms, vacant lots.
Yeah.
What was that journey like, and what inspired you guys to even notice that we had that many that you had that many options, or who even sparked the idea that we can turn these locations into a bee farm?
Great. So let me just address the first question. Not all of our sites are vacant lots. Some of our sites are in partnership with universities, local schools, and organizations like Wayne State University, like Mumford High School, like the Ford Resource Engagement Center, and many more. So the idea of vacant lots and bees, it really all stemmed from really being depressed. I was really in a dark hole, and I was trying to find ways to be more optimistic and more happier. I had a really good friend of mine that told me to read the book called Think and Grow Rich, and really
Napoleon Hill.
Absolutely, and how to change your mindset for not thinking like a victim, but think positive. So along from that, I learned about the power of just being in the outdoors, from grounding and sun gazing. And the power of sun gazing is a way you can just literally stare at the sun when it's rising and setting, and it's been known to really help with making you more optimistic, more happier, but also a way to just be more grateful and appreciative. And doing so, we find ourselves more happier and want to be more in the outdoors. So around this time was the summer of 2016, and the city put out a call to action. It was in the newspaper, broad as day, saying we currently had over 90,000 vacant lots.
Okay.
At that time, I really didn't know how many vacant lots we had in our city, but I knew we had a lot of them, but just not to put a number to it. So when most people saw this, it's like, that's a shame, Detroit is going down to the dumps. We said, you know what? Let's find a way to change the narrative. And this is because our mindset has changed. It's because we now think positively. So what can we do to change the narrative about our city? But also, what can we do to change the narrative about the people that reside within the community so that Detroit will not longer be the city of vacant lots and vacant homes, but of inner city residents doing great things in their community. But we knew in order to do that, to change the narrative, we had to do something ridiculous, outside the box.
That is crazy.
Game-changing, crazy ideas, something disruptive. We wanted disruptive ideas. We didn't want nothing that was done before.
Right.
We didn't want nothing that we can look at and be inspired by somebody else. We wanted something from within, an idea, and that's where God, or I would say the power of higher manifestation, came to us and came with many ideas.
So you and a couple sat down and tried to figure this thing out.
Yep.
Yeah, we had tons of ideas.
Okay.
But bees weren't on the top of the list.
Okay.
So, with my background as a photographer and graphic designer, I said, how about we transform a vacant lot into an outdoor photography studio where every season would be a prop. You would have a prop for the community residents to take pictures during the spring, summer, fall, and winter.
Right.
Said, this would be dope.
That's crazy.
It would be a space for all photographers and creatives to use. Then I thought, with our newfound interest in sun gazing and grounding and wanting to be out in the outdoors, we need a place where nature-deprived humans can go and just be able to escape maybe what's happening at school or maybe what's happening at their job, and they can find somewhere to be around nature. Believe it or not, it's sometimes hard to sun gaze and ground in some areas because you have a lot of blight, you have broken glass, you have a lot of pollution in the inner city of the community, and a lot of buildings. So it makes it sometimes hard to do that. Then with our interest in
We want to do
a peacock farm. We said, let's do a peacock farm. Let's buy a peacock.
What's that?
A peacock.
A peacock.
The bird?
Peacock. The male
Oh
peacock.
my goodness.
So peacocks are relatively inexpensive. You can buy one for $150. That's a pair of Jordans, or probably not a pair of Jordans today, but back in the day, that's probably a pair of Timbs or something. You can buy a peacock. They overwinter really well. They're low maintenance. And it's great for some areas in the city of Detroit where you have a lot of vacancy because they do make a lot of noise. But what we were visioning is creating what's called an urban zoo, something where children can learn about cool projects right in their own community without having to go outside their own neighborhood. And they can see people in their own community creating real change, and that change can resonate with them. We wanted to do that. So we said we can do a peacock farm. And all these ideas were great. We had a vision board, and we'd see it every day. But there was nothing really getting us started with these ideas. Yeah. So as time progressed from the summer of 2016 going into the winter, that's where I had this really bad cough and cold that I could not get rid of. And I was really, really sick. That it lasted over 2 months of really bad coughing, and I just couldn't shake the cough and cold. I tried over-the-counter medication, and then I went to the doctor, was placed on antibiotics, but I still had this really bad cough and cold. I mistakenly, and I do mean mistakenly, came across the power of local raw honey. I wasn't looking for it. It kind of chose me. And how I
local raw honey.
Local raw honey. So how I came across it is that I went to this it's a convenience store. It's a liquor store in Ferndale. It's called a 9 Mile Hilton Market. Now we know liquor stores in suburban areas are not like liquor stores in our city sometimes.
Right.
A lot of times we see nuts and you see almonds and all kind of fruits in the suburban liquor stores. So as I went into this liquor store in Ferndale, Michigan, the store owner recognized I had a really bad cough. And he said, young man, you should try some of our raw honey that we have here. As soon as he said that, I said, man, get out of here. That ain't going to work. Because I done tried everything. He said, no, our honey is local, it's raw. We buy it directly from a beekeeper. And I simply asked him, what's so special about local raw honey? Because I never heard those words paired together. Unfortunately, I never heard that before. So I said, what's so special about it? He said, when you consume local raw honey, you're actually consuming microscopic traces of pollen in the honey. Pollen from things from herbs, flowers, vegetables, fruit blossoms. And over time, it works to create what's called immunotherapy. Immunotherapy is a process that helps to improve or rebuild your immune system. Okay. By the process of taking in herbs. And, our grandparents always said, make sure you eat an apple a day.
Right.
Make sure you eat your vegetables. Right. Well, guess what? Bees are visiting apples and they're visiting vegetables. And they take the nectar blossom from those trees or them fruits or them plants, and they process that into honey. So when you take that, you're consuming microscopic traces of pollen, but also the nectar from those fruits, blossoms, and the plants, and etc.
So bees take a little bit from everything.
Yeah, because even to have a blossom, and more importantly, shout out to the cues, anything that's in the purple and yellow color spectrum. See, bees have 5 eyes. They have what's called bee vision.
5 eyes.
They have 5 eyes. 5 eye sockets in a way. They have 2 large compound eyes that's made of 7,000 lenses. 2 large ones right here in front of their face, and then they have an additional 3 eyes on top of their heads that serve as their GPS.
Okay.
And with their bee vision, they can see.
How do you know this?
And we've been studying this stuff for
we love it, and we've been studying and taking in so much information.
We're members of the Southeastern Michigan Beekeepers Association. She's a state delegate for the American Beekeeping Federation.
Okay, that's amazing.
We're members of the Southeastern Michigan Beekeepers Association, the Michigan Beekeepers Association, bee ambassadors of the Honeybee Conservancy. We're stewards, and we're avid, and we're really passionate about learning. Yeah. Not just learning for ourselves, but also it's about changing that narrative. Black people don't do nature. Black people don't do bees.
Come on, Tim.
My great-grandfather was a beekeeper. I just found that out last year.
Wow.
Who you telling? Who you telling? That was surprise to me, too. So learning about that is in our DNA. It comes from our great-parents, our great-grandparents that knew the land, that knew all the herbs, that knew the 11 herbs and spices.
That's dope. That's dope. That's dope, bro. I want to talk about the Go Green Botanical Garden. Because I noticed that in every city I go to, like when I go to Atlanta or I go to California, like it's like every state has a botanical garden, right? There's an entry fee, right? Yeah. It's like going to a botanical garden is like a whole thing, right?
Yeah.
So
experience.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And a walkthrough will change your life. You know what I'm saying? So I want you guys to expound on that, and what inspires you guys to even go in this direction.
Absolutely. So I don't have the shirt on me today, but Nicole is wearing it. It says Detroit is the place to be.
Say that.
It's not working to be the place to be. It's already the place to be.
Come on.
With over so many vacant lots, Detroit in a way has already have botanical gardens. And what a botanical garden is, it's a collection of plants, wildflowers, or weeds for people to interact with. So when you see somebody walking up and down the street, maybe crossing over a vacant lot, they're crossing through a botanical garden. They're crossing over many different type of wildflowers like chicories, from dandelions to thistles to mulberry trees. It's a collection of plants. It's just that it's not designed. There's lacking in design and some display. So the point of these botanical gardens is to create interaction between people and pollinators and plants for them to get a better understanding so that we don't have to keep the same notion that we're afraid of interacting with nature, that we're afraid or that we are placing the stigma of not wanting to learn about science or what have you. I wasn't a science person growing up, and I for sure didn't like being in science class, especially at Mumford. But it feels good to be able to take what I know now and go back to schools like Mumford and inspire the next generation that it's cool to learn about this stuff, it's cool to engage with science, and it's cool to do what you love.
Yeah.
Man, botanical gardens is so peaceful, bro.
Oh, they
Yeah,
are.
it's good for your mental health.
Peaceful. They are
For your
so
mental
peaceful,
health.
man.
Yeah.
It's like when you go out of town somewhere, man, and I specifically remember going to Atlanta. Like Atlanta has a really big botanical garden, you know, and it's an entry fee, you know. But you go when you go in, you feel a whole lot different than you do when you come out, right? When you walk in, man, it's like all the stress. It's a stress reliever. It's nothing but a feel good, you know.
Absolutely.
And I've been in Detroit my whole life, and I never known the city of Detroit to have a botanical garden, and I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, and the way Detroit been rocking the botanical gardens and making lots.
Which one down? I know it's one downtown, at Belle Isle, right?
Yeah, that's considered botanical garden as well, and that's one that they just released or launched, I think, last year, which is really nice.
What's your goals with a botanical garden? Like,
Yeah,
this
so-
is major, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the goals of botanical garden, in essence, is really to create a space for people and pollinators to support the scientific research, education, conservation of native plants, and non-native plants, but also
Bless you.
the conservation of pollinators as well. And it's for display, like you said. It's a way. How do you beautify an area? You said when you went to a botanical garden, you felt better. You felt more invited. That's how we got into Detroit Hives, from sun gazing and grounding and being in nature.
Yeah.
So the point of it is to, for one, is to help beautify some of these vacant lots. Two is to create an educational component to it. Three is conservation as well. Yep.
Before we move forward, you said pollinator.
It's time for the pollinators.
It's time for the pollinator. Tell the people exactly what a pollinator is.
Great question.
They can guess.
Great question.
But let's tell the people what a pollinator is. Tell me.
A pollinator is anything that can help transport seed from one flower to the next.
Okay.
So pollination can be done by wind, rain, or gravity, but also pollinators can be done by beneficial insects like ants, like bees, which are over 20,000 species, like butterflies, like certain types of birds and mammals as well. So anything, it can help transport one flower from one seed to one flower to the next. That could be your hands, that can be wind, anything. But you have pollinators, which are beneficial insects or mammals or birds that deliberately go out to flowers that are attracted to flowers from their color and their scent, and they help transport seed from one flower to the next.
Yeah.
So we all know that every insect on the planet, every insect, every bird, every mammal, every reptile has their place. Every fish, they have their place, and they have a responsibility to nature. And it's interesting to know that we have insects that have a responsibility to nature. They have a job to do.
They have a job to do.
Yeah, they do.
They have a job. And they're attracted. So a bee don't have it's not in their DNA to go out and say, hey, I have to pollinate and save the earth.
For the humans,
No,
right?
it's a connection between the flowers and the plants. They talk to each other.
They communicate with each other.
And that color is so vibrant and it attracts them. Say, hey, look at me. If you pollinate me, I give you a sweet treat. And the sweet treat is nectar. And they trick them and they kind of get them to pollinate.
Yeah.
So nectar, so you get honey from nectar.
Yeah, so
Yes.
nectar is processed by bees into honey. And they do this very industriously by evaporating up to 85 or more % of water content or moisture from nectar, thus allowing nectar to be transformed into honey. And that's where honey is antifungal and antibacterial because of the very low water or moisture content.
You know, people try to kill bees, bro. Like people get beehives on their garages, behind their houses, you know. I want you to expound on why people should not kill bees. Like why bees are your friend versus like they have a job to do. They are here on Earth with us. They're sharing space with us. They're working. They have a job, you know.
Yeah.
And I've had beehives. Like this past summer, I had a bumblebee hive.
Yeah.
That on my garage, and I had so many bumblebees. They were harmless, you know. Bumblebees, they weren't sting anybody, man. You know what I'm saying? But they were there, you know, and they moved on. Like they moved on without me having to do anything. But why should people just leave bees alone and let them work?
You know, you use that B word. Sometimes people are afraid of a certain type of people in a community. You know, they don't know if there's going to be crime around. They don't know if someone's trying to break into their home. So they may have to carry like a wasp can around them and try to get those people away from them. Just like bees, just like black people sometimes. Bees are often misunderstood.
Okay.
Bees just want to go out and pollinate our flowers. Without bees, we wouldn't have our fresh fruits and vegetables. We wouldn't have our strawberries.
Come on,
our
Sam.
apples, our watermelon. If you want to eat healthy, guess what? You need the bees. You need the pollinators.
Bees.
You're not going to eat healthy. You're going to continue to have what we see in our city, which is tons of gas stations filled with chips, honey buns, and that was
all
a victim of that.
Processed foods.
I grew up on that, being able to go to the next store, corner store, getting honey buns and all that other stuff. But that's what you're going to continue to see is chips, honey buns, and a lot of high fructose corn syrup and aspartame that you can find in your chewing gums and your beverages. And over time, that's not really healthy for us to consume. So honeybees are responsible for producing a lot of our healthy foods, our nuts, our vegetables, and our fruits. So without bees or pollinators, you'll have a shortage in your fruits, your nuts, and your vegetables, or these particular foods will be at an extreme cost, really high.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a produce section.
Yeah, but I'll pass it to you to talk on why bees are important and, you know, why we should really support bees.
Yeah, so they're, like Tim mentioned, they're responsible for 1/3 of the foods that we eat. Healthy foods. But they're also responsible for not only food that we eat, but other insects, other animals, and things like that. So it's not just about us. They help pollinate and actually keep the earth balanced.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and what you mentioned earlier that you have on your garage or in your trees, those are hornets. So you have hornets' nests, which are pollinators, and they kind of mimic what you might see with some bees. If you don't mess with them, they're not going to mess with you. So,
so if you see that football nesting type of structure, those are hornets because honeybees do not build any type of housing or a nest. The only thing honeybees build is honeycomb. They need some type of structure or some type of cavity to go into. In nature, they go inside the empty cavity of a tree, or they go inside wooden ware that beekeepers provide for them called beehives.
Interesting. Listen, I want to give our station ID. Listen, you are watching Put You On podcast live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Please like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. We have two wonderful guests here today from the Hives, Detroit. If you got any questions or comments, please give us a call at 313-355-6018. Again, 355-6018. I want you guys to tap into your humanitarian efforts. I thought it was really, really interesting to look at your Facebook page and to see you guys working with kids, working with students, educating them, you know, introducing this hobby or this work experience to children. I mean, there's no telling what direction you can go in or what opportunities that you're giving the less knowledgeable about beekeeping and pollinators. So I want you to touch base on teaching kids and what kind of response do you get from these kids, man, in your high schools and just people who, like myself, don't know much about being a pollinator and finding an interest in two African American founders that took an interest in being a beekeeper.
First and foremost, we love educating the youth, the next generation. Yeah. It's a joy. You know, our goal is really just to expose them to different possibilities, to get them outside the classroom, and just really spark their mind to be someone like the next Dr. Shirley Ann Jackson. Dr. Shirley Ann Jackson, she, as a young girl, she was fascinated with bumblebees and being out. And she used to love playing with bumblebees.
Yeah. So that led her into going to MIT. And she was one of the first black women to graduate with a degree in physics. And she created caller ID as well.
And call waiting.
and call waiting
Get outta
just
here.
by studying bumblebees.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So that's what we aim to do is we just want someone to be outside in nature, be inspired by nature, learn about bees, learn about science, and just get that harmony with nature and just learn something different. It can lead to maybe a career in physics, or it can lead to a career in fashion design, sustainable fashion design. Maybe be inspired to do something infusing nature with art. But we just want you to just find yourself through nature.
What kind of so we talked about all the positives, but I'm pretty sure you guys have experienced all types of challenges, just getting a vacant lot or just getting people on board. I notice you are always asking, you're reaching out for people that want to be that's inspired to help. You're always hiring. And, let's just be for real. In 2023, people are led by money. You know what I'm saying? People want money fast. You know what I'm saying? So outside of that aspect, what is your challenges that you go through day to day? Because I know it's not all peaches and cream. You know what I'm saying? So when you and Nicole have to come together and say, hey, Nicole, we got a challenge in front of us. We got A, B, C, and D. We got to figure out. You know what I'm saying? What kind of, since 2016, how have you faced your challenge from then to now to continue to keep going?
For over 7 years, we developed a succession strategy to overcome a lot of our challenges and barriers. One, we connect. We have a very great board. We have a great team of volunteers and other people that just really want to help. But, one thing that we stay committed to is our mission. But also there's a P word. There's several P words. It's passion, purpose.
Come on.
Perseverance.
Come on.
Plants, pollinators. We stay on them P's. We
Them
say
P's,
all the
huh?
P's. Almost 12 P's, We be on our 12 P's. That's what with 12 P's. So we focus on our 12 P's. Purpose, passion, all that stuff. Perseverance, we're on it. And that keeps us going. When there's a quote with Steve Jobs, they asked him, what keeps you going when you're down? What keeps you going when you have a barrier? What keeps you going when there's a gray cloud over your head? Is you got to really love what you do. If you don't really love what you do, you're not going to be able to stay committed.
You're not going to sustain yourself.
When you love it, you're going to do your own homework. You're not going to turn off that homework when you get inside the house. You're going to keep studying. You're going to keep being an avid learner and an avid listener, and you're going to find ways to keep evolving yourself. So when you have a challenge, you're just going to keep finding ways to go around that challenge. This is not our first rodeo. And we watched our grandparents, we watched our great-grandparents overcome obstacles, so that's also embedded in this too.
I noticed that when I seen you guys downstairs before we came up, you mentioned that you was just leaving the farm.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And we are moving into, we're moving into, I don't want to say mid, but we're moving into our fall season. The trees... The leaves on the trees is changing colors, right? So what happens to pollinators? What happens to you guys? Like how do you continue your mission during the winter, during the fall and the winter months? Because we know we don't see bees as much. We may see them in the fall here and there, right? But we don't see them as much, especially during the winter months. So what are you guys doing during those months? What are you doing now to prepare for the winter months until the spring come again?
We're going to go back and forth. So it never, ever stops.
Oh,
never
come on.
stops.
Okay.
It never stops.
Okay.
So when you start to see them leaves fall, it's a purpose for those leaves.
Okay.
It serves as a bedding for those particular queens or certain insects that begin to hibernate underground. And then once that serves as a bedding with the leaves, then you have snow. So also serves as insulation for a lot of insects. And then when you start to see a lot of those flowers begin to dry up, if you were just to maybe just cut that stem of that flower, it creates an opening for some of those wildflowers. And a lot of those bees and insects can go right inside there and use that as a way to hibernate as well. So it never stops. You think, oh man, it's the end of the spring or it's the end of the summer.
It's over with.
No, now you have to let those leaves, lead the leaves, like there's society has a program called Lead the Leaves. Lead the leaves because that serves as bedding. And it supports the bedding and
for butterflies, for bumblebees.
It's crazy
all
you
type
say
of
that
native bees.
because listen, culturally we rake our leaves
But we've been programmed to rake our leaves because they've been programmed to say that's an unkept lawn, that it's tidy, it's not well kept. So you have to rake up all the leaves and get rid of them. But no, leave the leaves.
Leave them there. They have a purpose. It's a bedding for hibernating insects. Now, our honeybees do not go into hibernation. But what we do is we have to winterize those hives. Honeybees, when the temperatures are 45 degrees and below, they'll begin to cluster up with the queen sitting in the middle, and they will vibrate their wing muscles. They can maintain a temperature between 90 and 95 degrees.
All year round.
All year round within that cluster.
Crazy.
So they will have to shift as a cluster to eat the honey. So their main purpose during the wintertime is just to keep themselves warm and eat honey. So we just have to make sure those hives are not collecting condensation and winterizing the hives and making it comfortable for them.
So it's 3 things you have to make sure your hives are exposed to before going to winter. For one, they have to be healthy and strong. If they're not healthy and strong, they're not going to survive.
What makes a healthy and strong hive?
What makes a strong, healthy, and strong hive is that you have a very low mite count. And what's a mite? What I mean by that is a parasitic mite called a varroa destructor. Those particular parasitic mites attach onto honeybees, and they suck the fat out of a lot of their larvae, and they attach to those bees, and they weaken their immune system and cause different type of illnesses. Mm-hmm. If they're sick, just like if we're sick, if we're not taking what we need to take going into the winter, we're going to get all kind of flus and kind of coughs and colds. It's going to weaken our immune system. Same thing for bees. If they're not healthy and strong going into the winter, it's going to be really hard for them to survive. That's one. That's probably the topper of all time.
Have you experienced?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mites?
It's inevitable. That's a whole nother conversation too.
Okay.
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 We'll get into that later. 2 is that you have to make sure you have enough food for them. They can eat at least 80 to 100 pounds of honey. So we're here for the conservation of pollinators. We don't take all their honey. We reserve at least 80 to 100 pounds of honey. That's a lot of honey that a hive can eat. And then 3 is, like Nicole mentioned, is that they can generate so much heat inside that hive during the winter, it can create a lot of condensation. And that moisture can kill the bees because of the moisture and it being cold.
It could drip down onto them.
So you have to make sure your hives are properly ventilated. You got to make sure there's a proper airflow for the air to go in and out of, maybe a screen bottom. But you can also insert additional boxes, create a screen bottom, and put in either an insulation board or wood chips or some mulch to catch that moisture and not allowing it to fall on the bees. So it's mites, lack of food, and moisture, the 3 biggest threats for honeybees going over winter. If you can match those 3, you're on your way.
Yeah, but also in the wintertime, we also help in managing and maintaining the organization. Yeah. And we're also doing speaking engagements as well. So we still do events and speaking engagements and things like that. Fundraising. Yeah. We have our winter bazaars.
So after the winter, when we come to the springtime, do you release your bees?
No,
they're always free to go.
Anytime the temperatures are 45 degrees and below, they become what's technically termed as less active, meaning that they're less likely to fly out if it's 45 degrees below. This also includes using the bathroom. They will hold it for days, weeks, or months.
So bees piss and shit.
Come
on. Let me know.
Yes, they use the bathroom. They
use the bathroom.
They
poop.
They poop.
Yes.
Okay. Old honey too.
Yeah.
So they will not use the bathroom in their hive.
Okay.
And that's one telltale if you have clean, healthy bees. They would not use the bathroom in their hive. What they would do is they'll quickly use the bathroom and come back. This is called cleansing flights. So during the wintertime, when it's around 45 degrees,
when it warms up,
a little bit higher, you'll see bees quickly using the bathroom and coming right back in.
Or they're cleaning out any dead bees that have passed away inside of the colony.
Yeah. They'll move them.
Yeah.
They'll move them.
And those are called undertaker bees.
So listen, real quick, before we get into our next question, I want to know about the queen. Okay. Because as a child, we've always hear about the queen bee, right? We hear stories about ants and bees that work for the queen. The queen is the one who they work for. She's in the middle, and she kind of just lays dormant, and everybody works for her. So what is the responsibility of the queen? What gives her, what makes her who she is, and why do a colony of bees work for her?
Man, I like to say they all queens.
Yeah.
Come on. Is she bigger?
She's bigger in size. She's one of the largest ones inside the colony. She's 2 centimeters in length.
Okay.
That's because she has reproductive organs. So
her job is to lay eggs.
That's all she does.
You got to put it like this. Worker bees, their lifespan is 4 to 6 weeks old during the spring and summer months. So as soon as they're being born, they're dying as well. To prevent from them dying out, they need someone to keep the population going. And guess who that is? That's the queen.
Okay.
And she
They
can
need
live.
someone just to lay eggs.
Yeah.
So the queen does not tend to any of the eggs that she lays. She has nurse bees to tend to the thousands of eggs that the queen lays.
So she lays thousands of eggs.
Yeah, she can
2,000
lay a day.
2,000 a day.
Up to,
Yeah.
up to 2,000 eggs if she has the space for it.
Yeah.
She can lay up to 2,000 eggs a day.
And she can live to 3 to 5 years.
And she can live for 3 to 5 years because she's not out working.
Yeah.
She's chilling laying
Yeah,
eggs.
she's
And she's
laying
not
eggs.
even raising them.
She don't even raise
Do
them.
bees have sex?
They do.
The queen bee does. The queen is only mated with. So once she becomes an adult, when she becomes a queen, she goes out on her virgin mating flight.
A sausage party.
And then the
crazy.
worker
You're
bees
crazy.
will
It's a sausage party.
escort her to where the drones are congregating, waiting for that queen. And they will mate. She can mate with 4 to 45 drones or more during her
When
mating
you say
flight.
drones, you mean male
Male
bees?
bees, yes.
Okay.
And so soon as they mate with her, their testicles explode and they immediately die. So they're constantly coming for her. So
And all of that sperm is collected into that queen, and they can sustain her for 3 to 5 years. And her job is just to lay eggs.
that's it.
That's
She'll
it.
come back to the hive, they'll clean her off, and then she'll begin to
That's
lay
She
eggs.
does not
Crazy.
feed herself, and she does
Yeah,
not
to
clean
clean
herself.
herself.
That includes using the bathroom and getting food. She needs the worker bees to feed her and clean her.
Yeah, so they all depend upon each other. So they all have certain jobs that they do inside of their colony. So not one person, it's not a hierarchy like
they all
this
work
queen is
together.
like, oh, I run this, you do this, you do this.
Do what I say.
No,
type of thing.
they do what is best for that colony.
They all
So
need each
like
other.
they're all honeybees. So like they all have jobs. So like he mentioned, like there's nurse bees that take care of those eggs that the queen is laying. Then you have the undertaker bees that clean out the dead bees in the hive or anything that
Everybody
doesn't
has
belong
a
in the
job.
colony. Yes, everybody has a job. Then you have the forager bees, which go get the food, which is in the form of nectar and pollen. Then you have the guard
Scout
bees.
bees,
The
guard
guard bees
bees.
protect the entrance of that colony or protect around that colony.
This is crazy.
Yeah, so they got many jobs, so they all depend upon each other. And then when they go out for scouting, they come back and they actually vote. So it is a democracy inside of that colony. So if a bee comes by and she's like, okay, we need to expand, and I'm looking at this spot, and she comes back and another bee knows that spot isn't good, she will tap her to constantly stop her from doing the waggle dance, which is how they communicate exactly where that location is at.
Just like us humans, when we find a good spot to eat at, we kind of do like a little dance, like, man, that food was good.
Yeah.
Bees do the same thing. They do what's called a waggle dance, and that lets
A who?
a
waggle dance.
A waggle?
Like a bee
Waggle.
twerk. It's like a bee twerk.
A
They-
bee twerk. You're
Yeah.
crazy. You're crazy.
Yeah, so when they find good food, so when those foragers find good food, they come back and tell the colony, hey, I found this great spot. Like we do. When we find good food, what we do? We
leave a
post it on
comment.
social media like, hey,
Right,
come try
right.
out this spot.
Right.
Yep, so they do the same thing. Yeah.
Listen, last 2 questions for you guys. National Beekeeping Day.
Absolutely.
Yes.
National Urban Beekeeping Day. So, again, we are about changing the narrative. We want to also leave a legacy.
Okay.
What can we do? We receive so much from the beekeeping world, from mentors, expertise, associations. What can we do to give back? And we founded National Urban Beekeeping Day to highlight urban beekeepers, but also ways that others can support urban beekeeping. Because a lot of times, people often say, why have bees in an urban setting?
Or
have,
how can you have bees in the urban setting?
Right.
And,
and then a lot of people in the urban environment, sometimes they don't have that connection to farming, and sometimes they don't have that connection to bees. And we're trying to merge, or we're trying to pollinate that connection.
yeah.
So, speaking of National Urban Beekeeping Day, or speaking about bees and pollinators, there's something, of course, in May. You have World Bee Day, which is May 20th, that highlights bees and pollinators and etc. Then, of course, during the whole month of June, you have National Pollinator Month or Pollinator Week, and that's for the month of June. And then skipping past July, there was nothing in the month of July that celebrated bees or pollinators or urban beekeeping.
Mm-hmm.
Then in August, you have what's called World Honeybee Day, which is August the third
Saturday
of
on August, yes.
And then in September, you have National Honey Month, Well, guess what? That whole month of July has been left out for years. We wanted to figure out what can we do to give back, and that's where we came up with National Urban Beekeeping Day, in which has been recognized from 10 state representatives here in Michigan and declared as National Beekeeping Day, Urban Beekeeping Day by the state of Michigan. This was done with the help of State Representative Jewel Jones and 10 other state representatives as well. It was a House resolution.
But it's not only like local movement; it is a national movement.
And
so
So the whole point of creating National Urban Beekeeping Day because we expanded nationally. How do I forget that? Yeah. So we've been able to expand nationally as Mohives KC in Kansas City, Missouri. And that's what allowed us to create that holiday, National Urban Beekeeping Day.
Because it's
amazing.
Yeah, and then also highlighting other urban beekeepers.
Man, I'm so happy that you guys has even taken up.
I'm sorry, we didn't even say the date. July 19th.
July 19th.
Which is after my grandmother's birthday.
Because there's nothing going on in July. You guys took July.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You guys brought some honey.
We did.
All right, where's the honey at? Show the people what's going on. Let the people know where they can find this product. Tell the people a little bit about it,
Absolutely. Yeah. So, again, we're here for the conservation of pollinators and other visiting native bees, and we support the conservation of honeybees. And so we leave at least 80 to 100 pounds of honey for our bees to make it over the winter.
Can I see that?
You sure can.
Anything that's a surplus, we do sell as a fundraiser, and we sell our product in over 11 retail stores. So some of the stores you can get our product is the Meyer Rivertown Market, but also Somerset
the Detroit
Mall.
Shop.
Yeah,
and Somerset Mall.
Yeah, and many other
pure
stores.
Raw honey.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It smells good too. Natural.
Yeah, that's the way it should be. So every honey should have a flavor to it. So here in Detroit, you're going to typically have what's called wildflower honey. And what gives it the name wildflower is that it's multifloral. So forager bees, they can travel up to 6 miles looking for nectar, pollen, water, and propolis. In this case, our honeybees are looking for anything they can find that has nectar and pollen. It can range from dandelions, from clovers to mint, thistles, the different type of
goldenrod.
So even in late fall with asters and goldenrod and different type of herbs and etc. So when they visit so many different types of sources of food, is considered multifloral.
Okay.
It's better for the bees' diet to have at least 3 sources of pollen, but it's also better for our diet. It's kind of like consuming a well-diverse plate of food versus eating a salad for the rest of your life or eating one type of food for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So it's better for the bees' diet, but also better for our diet, and it tastes better. And then also what's great about Michigan honey is that we have seasons. Our environment takes a break. We have a spring, a summer, and then also a fall. So there's different things blooming around the spring, like from apple blossoms to different types of mints blooming as well. Then going into the summer from echinaceas, and even to the late fall from goldenrod to asters. So depending on when you harvest your honey, from the spring, the summer, or to the fall, it should have a different type of hint or flavor to it as well.
Yeah, so it's gonna be different colors and tastes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let the people know where they can find you if they have any questions, any information, if they want to get involved. Look into the camera and tell them where can they reach out to you, even if they want to get some honey,
Absolutely. So we welcome you to join the Hive. Follow us on social media at Detroit Hives. Visit our website, DetroitHives.org. We're always looking for volunteers to help with some of our garden sites, maybe help with some of our events.
Yeah. We're also looking for emotional support. So give us a follow, join the Hive, share the information.
And then, of course, monetary support through donations or in-kind donations. That definitely helps further our mission along the way. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for coming. This has been a very insightful interview. I was blessed to have you. I've learned a lot. I'm pretty sure that our viewers have learned a lot. We're going to continue with the rest of our show. You're more than welcome to step out if you like, if you want to sit in. That's up to you, but I'm thankful for you and thank you for coming.
Yeah, awesome, appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
All right. Listen. You're watching Put You On Podcast, live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Please like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. Listen, guys, we're going to get into our current events of the night. We want you to give us a call, 313-355-6018. Our current event topic of the night is ladies. This is for the ladies. Nicole, you might be able to tap in on this. Would you agree with your man or spouse getting hair implants if he was bald and he just wasn't growing hair on top, in the center, around his hairline or whatever, would you agree with him getting hair implants? We're going to start with Nicole. Give us a call, people. Ladies, if you want to, we would like for you to give us a call and let us know how you feel. But we'll start with Nicole, 313-355-6018. Call us, let us know how you feel. What you think, Nicole?
I think people should just be natural the way God intended you to. But I mean, if you feel like you need it, and it makes you feel better and then boost your confidence, do what you need to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if your man was going bald, if he was losing it and he just couldn't get hair and it wasn't growing, and he said, "Baby, I think I seen some stuff on the internet and I want to get some implants." How would you feel? Would you say, "Baby, just let it go, leave it alone. I love you for who you are"? Or because it's all self-confidence for us as men. You know what I'm saying? We got to look in the mirror. We got to look at our head, right?
Right.
But women gives us the little bit more that we need to say, you know what?
But that's Steve Harvey.
I'm doing it.
Yeah.
My baby say she like it. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
What you think about that?
Like I said earlier, it depends on, if they want to do that, if it helps them have that boost of confidence, get it.
What you think, Tim?
Oh, I mean,
Well, you know what? What I would ask you, because a lot of women get their eyebrows tattooed, and they, you know what I'm saying, a lot of women don't grow eyebrows, and they want their eyebrows to be fuller. Like my ex, she would comment on getting her eyebrows tattooed on, and I know that ink, over time, it'll fade, right? And I wouldn't encourage her to do it. But how would you feel if your lady came to you and said, "Baby, I don't like my eyebrows. I want them to get fuller. I think I'm about tattooing them."
I mean, I think that sounds like a good decision at that time. It's just that you got to know that when you're doing with a tattoo, you're going to be living with that look for the rest of your life. So you can't make no change ups. If you want to maybe go with a thin or whatever, you're stuck with it. But if that's what the person want to do, then so be it. But just understand that when you get older and as your other hair begins to thin out, the eyebrows gonna be looking real bold and strong.
Hey, if she came home with tattooed eyebrows, and you ain't seen your lady all day long, because you've been at the Beehive working, right? And then you come home and then you like, man, why your eyes look swollen? What's wrong with you? Come here. And her eyebrows are swollen. Would you keep her or leave her?
Definitely keep her. Definitely keep her.
Okay.
We're gonna have a conversation before that even happens.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe trying out maybe different type of paint on or drawing things on before we get to that level.
What do you think? 313-355-6018. Leave them or keep them. Your lady or your man come home, or they want to get some they're going bald, or they want to get their eyebrows fixed up, or they want to get implants going on. Would you tell your spouse to just leave it how it is? I love you for who you are. Would you treat them different, right? Is it a turn on, turn off? Who knows, right? What's your opinion? 313-355-6018. Please give us a call, or we're going to move on to our next topic because we're going to be getting out of here soon. Francis Ngannou and in sports, Francis Ngannou and Tyson Fury will be facing off in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia on October 28th. Francis Ngannou is a champion in the UFC world, and Tyson Fury is a world boxing champ. So, this fight is a $10 million fight in Saudi Arabia. I'm thinking about going to Vegas to actually watch the fight. I wanted to go to Saudi Arabia, but a black man with dreads in Saudi Arabia, I didn't know how that would work out for me. But I think I'll do fine going to Vegas, sitting down in the casino, watching it. They actually have a belt. This isn't your typical championship belt. Saudi Arabia is a pretty rich country, right? They have their own belt that they created for Riyadh season. They're going to have more professional events that happens in Saudi Arabia. And Mike Tyson is training Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou is from Cameroon, Africa. And Tyson Fury is from Great Britain. He is a world champ. He beat He beat up Deontay Wilder twice, and he's upheld the WBC championship belt for some time. They will not be fighting for the belt. Again, they have their own belt that they will be fighting for, and it's going to be something to see. So I encourage you guys to watch it. We're going to move on to our Boss Your Life Up segment. And I'm going to turn this over to Nicole and Tim, because when we say Boss Your Life Up, we're talking about overcoming obstacles. We're talking about challenges. We're talking about doing what it takes to get to that next level. We're talking about not knowing. You know, Tim said he was in a dark place. If you remember earlier in the interview, he said he was in a dark place. He didn't know what was going on. He was trying to figure out his next move, and through sun gazing and him and Nicole working through it, they got here. So I want Nicole to give her Boss Your Life Up segment. It doesn't have to be pertaining to the Beehive. It could just be on your own personal experience and challenges and getting through your challenges. What can you give the people? What kind of inspiration could you give the people and moving forward, facing your challenges, looking at them in the eye? What can you tell people?
Wow. Facing your challenges. I can't even. What could I say to that?
Bees.
Taking it day by day.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
But you get through it.
Yeah, you definitely get through it. Get through it. Yeah. I'm trying to think of like how we handle it. Man, we just keep pushing.
So you guys, is there ever any turmoil?
Yeah, it is. Systematic racism.
Yeah. We do
Systematic racism.
Systematic racism.
It's not
everywhere nationally.
Beekeeping is not a colorful place. Yeah.
Well, listen, we want to thank our guests. Listen, you got to get through it. That's what I got out of that. You just got to get through it and take it one day at a time. Yeah. Whether it's systematic racism or whatever it is that we got to go through, we got to get through it. Mm-hmm. We know that beekeeping is not easy. We can only imagine what these two people go through to actually make it happen, but they're here, and we're proud of them. We're going to stand by them and anything that we can do to help them on their mission and to keep going. Tim has something you want to say?
I was just saying, Boss Your Life Up, for me, it means higher consciousness, growing, spiritually growing, developing, changing those narratives, educating yourself, reading that book, Think and Grow Rich, grounding, sun gazing, learning about your environment, learning about plants. That's bossing your life up. Learning something new every day.
Yep, and going within yourself.
Put You On podcast, man. It's been a wonderful show. I want to thank our guests. I want to thank Roger. I want to thank WJZZ. We'll see you guys next week. Peace and be well.
Be well.